Hi. My name is Emily Hart, and if you had told me 5 years ago that I'd one day share my story with the world, I would have laughed, probably with tears in my eyes. I'm not famous, not special. I'm just a woman who survived the wreckage of a broken marriage, financial devastation, and emotional collapse, all while raising 2 kids. But here I am. If my story helps even one person crawl out of their own darkness, then every ounce of pain was worth it. Let me take you to the beginning, or rather, to the day everything fell apart. It was a cold Tuesday morning in January. The sky was that dull gray that makes everything feel heavier. I had just dropped off my 2 kids, Ben, 6, and Lily, 4, at school and daycare respectively. I was sipping a lukewarm cup of gas station coffee in the car, parked outside my husband Mark's office. I wasn't stalking him. I was there to surprise him with lunch. But he was the one who surprised me. I saw him laughing with someone. A woman. He leaned close. Touched her cheek. Kissed her forehead. I froze. Then I opened my phone and started recording. I needed proof. Not because I planned to leave him immediately, I didn't even know what I planned. But because I knew, in that instant, that something inside me had just shattered. And I had to catch the pieces before they slipped through my fingers. That moment launched a series of events that would spiral my life into chaos. What you'll read in the following pages is not just a story of betrayal, but one of awakening. It's a testimony of how pain, when faced head-on, can transform into power. Mark and I had been together for 11 years. Married for 8. We met in college, both business majors, both idealists. He was charming, confident, with a laugh that could melt a room. I was quieter, more observant, more willing to adapt than I should have been. But we clicked, or I thought we did. Things started changing after Lily was born. He was working longer hours, and I was home alone with 2 small kids, drowning in diapers, sleepless nights, and the unending hum of cartoons. We stopped talking, except for logistical things like groceries or bills. I thought it was just a phase. That January morning showed me it wasn't. I confronted him that night. He didn't deny it. Her name was Vanessa. She worked in his office. She was 27 and understood him. I was stunned at how calm he was, like this had all been rehearsed in his head. He even tried to flip it on me, told me I'd changed, become distant, less fun. I wanted to scream. But I didn't. I just stood there, numb, holding onto the edge of the kitchen counter so I wouldn't collapse. The days that followed were a blur. I didn't tell the kids. How do you tell a 6-year-old that daddy is leaving? That mommy cries in the bathroom at night? I kept up appearances, cooked dinner, packed lunches, smiled when I needed to. But inside, I was collapsing. Then came the finances. Mark had been in charge of our money. I trusted him. I shouldn't have. The joint savings account? Emptied. Credit cards? Maxed out. Mortgage? 3 months behind. I was drowning in a sea I didn't know I was in. He had moved into an apartment across town with Vanessa, and I was left to pick up the pieces. My parents helped where they could, but they were retired and had their own struggles. I started working night shifts at a local diner. I'd drop the kids off in the morning, clean houses during the day, nap for 2 hours, then head to the diner at 6 p.m. Every bone in my body ached. But what hurt most was the loneliness. Not the kind that comes from being single, but the kind that comes from being unseen. One night, while wiping down the counter at work, a regular named Janet, mid-50s, kind eyes, chain smoker, slid me a note. It said, "You look like you need someone to talk to. I'm here." That night, I broke. I sat in the break room and sobbed while Janet rubbed my back and just listened. No judgment. No advice. Just presence. That moment shifted something in me. It was Janet who told me about the community center 3 blocks from the diner. They've got free legal aid on Tuesdays and therapy sessions for women. I used to go when I was going through my own mess, she said, exhaling a cloud of smoke as she handed me a flyer. I walked into that center the next day, unsure of what to expect. It smelled like dust and old coffee, but the receptionist smiled at me like I mattered. That alone made me cry again. The first therapy session was awkward. I didn't want to talk. But sitting in that circle of women, all different ages and backgrounds, I felt something I hadn't in months: connection. One woman had escaped a physically abusive partner. Another was fighting for custody like me. Another was learning how to live after her partner's suicide. And yet, there we were, breathing the same air, surviving the same silence. I started journaling. I hadn't written in years, but something about putting pen to paper made the chaos in my mind make a little more sense. I wrote letters I'd never send, to Mark, to myself, to the version of me who believed love was supposed to hurt. With the legal aid clinic's help, I filed for full custody. Mark tried to contest it, but I had proof of his negligence. He'd gone weeks without seeing the kids, and when he did, it was more about showing off to Vanessa than actual parenting. The courtroom was the coldest place I'd ever been, except for maybe our old bedroom in those last few months. But I stood tall. My lawyer, a fierce woman named Carla, said afterward, "You're tougher than you think, Emily. Don't forget that." I didn't. Not after that. I began cleaning apartments on the side, early mornings before the kids woke up or on weekends when my mom could watch them. I put up flyers, posted in Facebook groups, and handed out business cards I printed at home. Slowly, the work trickled in. One of my first clients was a woman named Rena. She lived in a one-bedroom loft and worked in PR. She was sharp, independent, and didn't pity me when I told her my story. She respected me. "You're rebuilding from rubble," she said. "Most people never even try." Then, out of nowhere, I collapsed. Literally. I passed out in the kitchen at work. I woke up in the hospital with a nurse adjusting my dehydration. Exhaustion. "You're severely anemic," the doctor told me. "You need to slow down, Emily." But that scare forced me to reconsider how I was living, or rather, surviving. I took 2 weeks off. Janet covered shifts. My mom moved in temporarily. I went back to therapy. I told Carla, my lawyer, everything. And she said, maybe it's time to ask for help and not apologize for it. I applied for state assistance. I signed up for a workforce training program through the community center. I hated feeling like I was failing, but what I didn't see then was how much strength it took to admit I couldn't do it all alone. The training program was called Women Reclaiming Power. It ran for 6 months and offered job placement in fields like administrative work, caregiving, and even tech support. I chose tech. Not because I knew anything about computers, but because it felt like the farthest thing from cleaning houses or slinging pancakes. Every Tuesday and Thursday, while Lily was in preschool and Ben was in first grade, I'd sit in a room full of women who, like me, were tired but trying. We learned everything from spreadsheet management to basic coding. The instructors were patient. The learning curve was steep. But for the first time in years, I felt capable. Smart. Like I was building something that could last. My relationship with the kids began to shift. I wasn't just surviving anymore. I was showing up differently. I had more energy. More hope. I started game nights on Fridays, and pancake mornings on Sundays. Ben started opening up about how sad he felt when Daddy forgot to call. Lily drew pictures of us holding hands with big red hearts around our heads. We were healing. Together. Mark, on the other hand, was falling apart. He'd been fired from his job after a client complained about misconduct. Vanessa had left him. He showed up at my apartment one night, drunk and crying, begging for another chance. I let him sit on the stoop. I made him a cup of coffee. And then I told him the truth: I don't hate you. But I don't love you anymore, either. You taught me what I never want again. And for that, I'm grateful. He didn't take it well. He stormed off. But he never came back. I finished the training program and was placed at a tech support firm downtown. The pay wasn't great, but it was stable. The hours were better. I could be home for dinner, help with homework, sleep more than 4 hours a night. It felt like the beginning of something real. Then, something unexpected happened. There was a man in the training program. His name was Noah. He was a guest speaker from a local startup and came to teach us about cybersecurity. He was quiet, funny, gentle. One day, after class, he handed me a folded piece of paper. "Coffee," it said. "No pressure." I almost laughed. But something about Noah felt safe. We met the next Sunday. Talked for 3 hours. He didn't flinch when I mentioned the kids. He just listened. Slowly, gently, he became part of our lives. He taught Ben how to ride a bike. He helped Lily plant sunflowers. He held my hand during the final custody ruling, where I was awarded full legal and physical custody. I felt something I hadn't in years: peace. You are just beginning. Or so I thought. Because healing, I learned, isn't a destination. It's a loop. And even when you think you've arrived, life has a way of asking, "Are you sure?" A year later, Lily punched a classmate. She said I didn't have a dad, she whispered. She said I was broken. I realized the kids needed healing, too. We began therapy, again. Together. Ben forgave his father through a letter. Mark cried. He began showing up, quietly, consistently. Not perfectly. But better. A few months ago, Noah asked me to marry him. I said yes, not because I needed saving, but because I had already saved myself. We had a backyard wedding. It was quiet. It was perfect. Today, I speak at conferences. I mentor women exiting shelters. I hold hands with women just beginning their own stories. My life isn't easy. But it's mine. If you're still in your own fire, remember, you don't need a perfect ending. Just the strength to turn the page. You're not just surviving. You're writing your own beginning. With love and fire. Emily.